Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me. We are a podcast devoted to entrepreneurs, founders, startups, and also the angels, VCs, family offices, and investment firms that support them and help them. We are on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon, Audible, and others that don't necessarily start with the letter A. We're also on YouTube. We want you to, of course, subscribe to the podcast, The Accelerator, and also give us a nice rating if you like the program and tell your friends and share it. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Rossana Ceccato and Matías.
Perfect.
Practicing these names. Now, Rossana is from Venezuela. Matías is from Matías. It's Matías. I never used to have trouble pronouncing names until I did this podcast. Matías is from Chile, and they have come together in a fascinating way in a company called Redress. So who wants to explain what that is to us? Why don't you do it, Rossana? What is Redress?
Yeah, this is a digital platform where our users swap their barely used garments, exchanging with our inventory, with pieces already displayed in our inventory. That's why Redress. That's what Redress does.
Okay, so basically, people can send you their dress that they no longer use. It's in their closet. Maybe they've used it once in the last 5 years or 10 years. Women, I'm told women have more articles of clothing like that than men. Men don't shop quite as much as women typically. But how does this work? Do people who want to put a dress on Redress, how do they do it? They take a photo? Give me the mechanics of it.
Sure. So it's pretty easy. You basically go to your wardrobe, you check those dresses that you're not longer using. You take a picture of those dresses. We will immediately tell you whether they're eligible for the platform. Not every single dress is eligible in the platform. We're looking for dresses that generally used once or twice. As you know, because of social media, women only use their dresses once or twice because they don't want to be seen again with the same dress. So basically, they take the picture. We tell them.
I'm going to ignore that comment. We like that about women, but anyhow, let's call it a lightly used garment, a slightly used garment, something like that.
Correct. It's a lightly used garment. With that eligibility, basically, we're going to tell you how many points you're going to get. The way that we give points to our users is basically using the fair market value of the dress, and that's very important. I'll tell you why in a minute, but we'll give you estimated points. You'll send the garment to us by USPS, basically. We'll receive that garment. Whenever we receive that garment, those points are going to be available to you to redeem for whatever other styles we currently have in the platform. And then whenever you choose it, we will send it to you right to your doorstep.
Send from your inventory. So a woman
Right.
sends in a dress, she gets a number of points. That gives her the right to put those points toward a dress, right? Is that kind of how it works? Toward another dress, right? So
Correct.
So if a dress were, just for sake of argument, if a dress, do points translate directly into dollars? So is $100 equals 100 points, or do you have a formula?
We do have a formula, but the formula respects the fair market value. So generally, you will be receiving the fair market value of your dress in points.
You will. Even is it a fair market value for a used dress or for a new dress?
It's a fair market value. It doesn't necessarily matter because the coin that we use is inside the platform, but generally, we could say that it's the fair market value of a new dress, actually.
Okay. So, so how does somebody join Redress? Do they go to an app? Do they go to a website? How does that work?
So right now, we just launched our version 2.0 of the platform. It's a site. We haven't yet developed our app because we thought that we need to get sufficient traction in order to make sure that we're moving into an app to make sure that the money that our investors are putting into the company is well kept and it's spent reasonably. But that's the way it works. Generally, you go here to our app. It's myredress.com. You will log into you will create an account, and then you can start swapping.
Yes, and you don't have to pay anything to subscribe.
Yeah, go right ahead, Rossana.
Yeah, you don't have to pay anything to be subscribed into the platform.
You don't. So there's no membership charge or subscription fee. Is that right?
Exactly.
In order to register, no, there is not. Right now, our business model is a transactional model, so you will pay per transaction. In the future, we will be incorporating subscriptions. Actually, right now, the platform has a 70%, or even more than 70% recurrence rate, and that makes this business model perfect for a subscription.
Oh, that's exciting. So the site is myredress, myredress.com. And you are both based in Miami, is that right?
That's right.
And that's where you are today, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And Rossana, I understand that the origins, the genesis of this company have a lot to do with the fact that you are a fairly stylish person. Is that true? Are you stylish?
Yes, actually, it is funny because I am here in the United States since 2015, and when I came to US, I was surprised because every weekend my clients came to any of my retail stores to buy clothes as if they were naked. That is why I create a survey of 2,000 women just to validate something that is obvious for men. That is, 80% of women think they have nothing to wear, even if their wardrobes are packed. And what happened? Due to social media, one of the women don't want to be seen more than twice with the same garment. And then we start to study the better way to replace a barely used garment. And that is how Redress was created. I have 15 years in the fashion industry, actually.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So you surveyed 2,000 women. Were they of all ages? Were they a certain age group?
Yeah, actually, because I had 3 clothing stores here in Miami. We survey in Miami International Mall, Dolphin Mall, Sunset Place, women between 25 and 55 years old, Latin and Caucasian American women. And we made them a lot of questions. Actually, we validate that dresses are this kind of garments that they just use once. And they consider a dress all after the second wear. So that's why we started with dresses instead of another kind of garment.
Yes. Now, so you actually have had, or do you still have 3 retail stores? Do you still have them?
No. I stopped everything in 2020 when we started with Redress.
I see. So tell me what else you learned from that survey, because that's a lot of interviews, 2,000. That's a lot of people. That's some good data. So what else did you learn about women in clothes?
Yes, actually, they don't consider to resell their barely used garments because they feel frustrated. They know that if they try to resell these barely used garments in second-hand resale platforms, they are just going to recover or recoup a minimal fraction of the original cost of this garment. For example, if these garments cost around $100, even if they have still the tax attached, they are just going to recoup $20, and they are not going to be able to rebuy a garment, a similar one, with the same amount of money that they are receiving at that time. So it was very, very important to us because we saw a space that nobody was watching at that time. Resale is very frustrating. There are 9 billion of pieces hanging in the closets of the United States every single year. But more than that, 36 billion, Michael, end in landfills. And 95% of these 36 billion of garments could have been recycled in some ways. So we discovered a better way to replace your barely used garments using your own garments like a currency in a platform.
Yes. No, that's That's really interesting. So just to think out loud about this, so I'm trying to compare it to other used businesses. So let's take used cars. You know, they say the minute you drive the car off the lot, it loses 20% of its value, 30, even more, I think in some cases. But there is a market for used cars, and if you turn your used car in, sometimes you get a pretty good credit for that when you buy a new car or you lease a car. So it's a used car is certainly not worthless. But what you're saying is a woman, once she buys a dress, she which she probably, or which she may, I can't believe they only wear them once. But anyway, let's say they wear them once and now they can't get rid of it basically, because if you sell it, you're going to take a bath, you're going to lose all your money, most of your money. So your company is built on the idea that not only can you trade it in, but you can get something else out. You can get another dress back, which you can then wear and then give back, I assume, right? You wear it once and then give it back.
Yeah.
So how does this work logistically? This seems to me like you would need significant warehousing, significant logistics, delivery, et cetera. So how do you handle that?
So, logistic wise, yes, you need somewhere where you can have all these clothes that people are sending over, and of course, your initial inventory. We right now have a warehouse here in Miami. The platform serves all the country, so we are sending our dresses to people in Florida, but also people in California. Or
Puerto Rico,
or Hawaii. So we're covering the whole country. The way that we do it is because we're using USPS, and we send those over, and they get generally very well to our clients. So that's the way we are right now. Nonetheless, in the future, as we scale, of course, we have identified certain cities where we want the clothes to be closer to the client. Generally, for example, our follower space is in New York and LA. So probably in the future, we will have warehouses in New York and LA. And when it comes to logistics, we are thinking about partnering with several logistic companies that actually do something that is very important to us, which is pickup. Sometimes people don't want to go to the mail and just, mail their stuff or put them in boxes. We will be partnering with some logistic companies that we're talking right now as we speak, in order to go to their houses, pick things up, and even do the exchange right there at their houses.
Give them the new dress or the new used dress and take back their dress, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. So, how far along are you with this, and what kind of traction have you attained?
So, Rossana, I don't know if we want to speak about the traction. I will tell you a little bit about where we are in terms of, our funding and so forth.
Well, hold off on that. I want to know about the traction in the actual product. Rossana?
Well, right now we launched our MVP late September 2021, and since then we have been growing 20% monthly. And right now we have more than 10,000 leads. We have made more than 1,800 transactions during these 9 months. We have a huge community. Right now, we have almost 18,000 followers in social media. They are very interested in
80,000.
Sorry?
80,000?
18,000.
18,000.
Yes. Followers in social media, and we have an average ticket of $70. In every transaction, we made a transaction with a swap with between 4 and 5 dresses per transactions, and we have a recurrence rate, as Matías told you before, over 70%. So actually, this is I know this is not a good search, but right now we haven't had churn during this year. We have, we don't have a lot of customers, thousands of customers, but we haven't had churn yet. So this is a very, very nice.
You said you're getting recurring repeat customers, right?
I love. Actually, at the beginning, we start this business with just transactions, but the recurrence rate is so high. So we decide to implement the subscriptions because of that.
And Matías, tell me, how do you make your money?
So we have two main revenue models. One is a transaction-based revenue model, and the other one, just like Rossana told you, will be implemented soon, which is a subscription-based revenue model. The transaction revenue-based model works whenever you're doing a swap. You need to pay a transaction fee, which is $14.99. Okay, and that will allow you to get a dress similar to the one that you're putting into the platform. And even if you want to upgrade, you can buy points in order to upgrade your garment and then obtain something that actually better than the one that you're putting in.
Okay, and who is paying for shipping?
So that's a good question. We split the shipping. Generally, what happens is that you'll pay one shipping and we'll pay the other one. So we will pay the one that we're sending the dress to you, but you're going to pay $14.99 plus shipping, only one shipping to us.
Okay, and the repeat customers, I bet you have some customers who've done this like 20 times. Is that right, Rossana?
Yes.
What do you know about repeat customers?
Yes, actually, we have a very interesting market here in US that is realtors. This is very interesting because these women in US, they are very elegant and they dress like a queen, like queens every day. So they need to use different garments every single day. So we have a very big group of realtors that they used to swap their dresses for the week. So actually they swap around 20 dresses per month, and it costs around $300, Michael. And they say, oh my God, I'm saving a lot of money. But we have a lot of, here in Miami, you know that this is a very funny place and they like to go out every single weekend. So this is not just to a wedding or to a very elegant event. They use it for every single day because they like to look amazing every single day.
So the thought process would be, for say $300, I'm getting a brand or nearly new outfit every single time. I'm never wearing the same thing twice. So it sort of like leasing a car. You don't really own it, but you get to use it, and you sort of get the advantages of ownership. So, and I think you mentioned you have 10,000 women who've been doing the swapping so far. Is that right? Is that the number you said?
Yeah, we have almost 10,000 subscribers, but every single month they are changing. We have around 800 active users per month.
Okay, and what are revenues? So, what are monthly revenues right now?
We are right now over $6,000 per month.
Okay, so what are the plans moving forward? I know you want to raise some money, but what's kind of, there seems like there's a big step to come. What is the next big step, Matías?
So for sure. So everything, all the numbers that we just told you about, we did with our MVP. Mm-hmm. And the MVP was truly a minimum viable product for us. Actually, we were trying to test the market fit. We did that originally with a concierge MVP. So actually doing swaps here at our place. Then we started with the MVP and the numbers started scaling. Now that we have, so with the MVP, what we did is that we received the feedback from customers of what they wanted, and that we implemented in the version 2.0 of the platform. So right now, what we are trying to do is to see how easy it is for people to adopt the model. We haven't spent one penny yet in marketing. Mm-hmm. So I think the next stage for us would be, trying to put some gas into the machine and see how it goes whenever we're bringing people that are not necessarily our early adopters.
And do you know anything more about the maybe from your survey, Rosanna, about the used dress market? I'm thinking there's sort of at the very low end. There's like Goodwill Industries, where for very little money you can get a used dress, but it may not be the greatest quality. What is there? Has there been a market, and a few boutique stores here and there where you can go in and get vintage clothing or previously worn? But is this sort of a market that has been undiscovered so far?
Well, this is growing. Actually, we know that the second-hand apparel industry is growing, and in 10 years, they are going to grow 3 times more than fast fashion. So this is going to explode.
And why is that? Why do you think that's happening?
Well, if you want to talk about COVID, Matías?
I think there's 2 things that are particular about this. One is that the new generations are a little bit more conscious about the environment, and they have seen, what happens with fast fashion and what happens with, the fashion industry in general. The fashion industry is the second most polluting industry in the world after oil and gas. So I think there is definitely a conscious. These numbers before COVID were very impressive, but they were not as impressive as after COVID. Actually, conscious people got really conscious after COVID. Before it was 2 times, it was going to go 2 times more than the overall market. Now it went to 3 times more than the overall market. So things that we were expecting to happen in 20 years' time now will happen in 5, 10 years' time. I think the market is moving to there. So Gen Zs and the last portion of the millennials are really going into this trend.
Actually, we know that Gen Z they prefer to wear barely used garments instead of new ones. We know that this is a fact.
Yeah, now that's interesting. So when we're talking about, we're talking with Rossana Ceccato and Matias Hercovich from My Redress. You can go to myredress.com, MYREDRESS. I love the name Redress, by the way. Fantastic name. Though I had to tell you, there's this thing called redress of grievances I think it's in the U.S. Constitution, but that's a whole nother story. But redress is a wonderful name. And I think it's a terrific idea. Now, it's not just dresses though, right? I'm assuming that blouses, certain high-end garments that are not dresses, or are you dresses only?
No, we started with dresses, but we're not only dresses. So we will be expanding our offerings to also handbags, other type of clothing, suits, for example, for women. We're mostly interested in women because are the ones that keep more garments in the wardrobes more than men. So I think it's the perfect market for us to start. But to be honest with you, this swapping concept or the swapping business model can be applied to several different things. You were talking about, for example, cars. That could be an interesting thing whenever you're thinking, you know what, if I can swap my car for another car, especially if I'm moving. For example, if I'm moving from Florida to California and I have a car and I know that someone else has an equivalent car and I'm moving, I could perfectly swap that car. So we started with dresses because it seemed the right place to start because of the third-party inventory that we can tap on. But this model can be applied to several different things. Actually, some people have come to us and say, why don't you do this for baby clothing? Babies don't use that much clothing in terms of, they use it once, but they grew out of that clothing. And maybe you can swap it for other clothing that it could fit the baby. So there's several different things that we can do in order to expand the business to other B2C products or even B2B products.
Well, I'm gonna get on my knees and pray that you stick to dresses for a while, because it's so tempting to say, we could do this, we could do that, but you can. But first, you have to do one thing right. Once you prove it, then it becomes a different story. And certainly, other kinds of clothing like baby that makes perfect sense. That would be the same business, right?
Actually, it's a very interesting business there because we are thinking to include in next year baby clothes, but baby between newborn and 1 year because they are not still toddlers. So this is a very light use garment.
Yes, I guess in terms of that, the difference might be that kind of the baby clothing, baby attire, is not nearly as expensive as a woman's dress, right? So
Mhm.
you're not gonna, it's gonna be like a different model economically. But no, I
Yes.
think that the swap. I'm trying to think if I know of any other swap businesses. I'm sure they're out there. I'm just not thinking about it at the time. But I have no doubt it's a viable model and it's a great idea. Now, my question is, where do you expect to be at the end of this year? Where would you like to be in terms of the business?
So, in terms of the business, I think where we want to be is we want to finalize our pre-seed round this year and start thinking about our seed round in next year. We want to expand our customer base for sure. I think we need to, as I said before, we need to start doing some paid marketing. Everything has been word of mouth until now, which basically help us to prove the concept. But I think if we want to scale, we definitely need to prove that we can bring, people that are not necessarily just our early adopters and people that are fans of redress because it's a new concept. It's because we are attracted to the masses.
Sure. And whose idea was this? Did you both cook this up? It was your idea. When did the idea come to you, Rosanna?
Oh, it was in 2020. It was in 2020. This is a personal story, Michael. I lost my family 5 years ago. And at that time, I was thinking that if I was alive, I had a very special purpose here. So that's why I decide to close my clothing stores to do something with purpose. For me, it was very important. And at the beginning, I didn't realize the importance of this new concept. And once I understood what was missing here, everything was fluid at that time. Actually, I remember that when I proved redress at first time, I put all my garments in a rack in my house and I invite 9 women to do swaps. So they perceived the saving at that time and they were saving around $6,000. And we were talking about just 9 women. So I said, okay, we have something here. So I tried the proofs with all my clients and they were very excited about.
Yeah, no, that is exciting. Well, I want to thank both of you for being on the accelerator today. Rossana Ceccato and Matias Hercovich. I did better as we went along with their names. Rossana is from Venezuela. Matías is from Chile. They are now based in Miami at MyRedress, myredress.com, MYREDRESS. And I want to thank you both very much for being with us today. I really enjoyed it. Very, very exciting.
Thank you,
No,
Michael.
thank you very much.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
the time.
And this has been the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. You can go to @MichaelConniff. Follow me on Twitter. MichaelConniff.com is my website, CONNIFF.com. And also, we're on all the major platforms: Apple, Audible, Amazon, and about 8 others, plus on YouTube. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, where I'm getting close to 10,000 connections. So that's getting to be kind of exciting. But thank you all for being here. Thanks again, Rossana and Matías. And we'll be back before you know it with another podcast. I almost said blog. We'll be back with another podcast.